So yes, so I'm a fresh retiree from ADB, so I will present, according to what is the title of my presentation, the ADB approach to the use of rated criteria. Actually, ADB just released a new standard bidding document based on the FIDIC Red Book and Yellow Book, respectively. So two new standard bidding documents, which are based on this, not only on the FIDIC Red and Yellow Book, but also based on this new evaluation methodology. Right. So I must say that ADB is not the first and not the only one, I would say, advocating for the use of what we call merit point criteria. It's a synonym for rated criteria. And actually, in fact, even before us, the World Bank also advocated for the use of the rated criteria, the Inter-American Development Bank, so there are some multilateral and bilateral organizations, the French AFD and others. And actually, there are also a number of international organizations advocating and supporting the use of merit point criteria, or rated criteria. But FIDIC itself, actually, in the FIDIC guide, FIDIC procurement guide, which was released in 2011 and which is now being updated. So back in 11, FIDIC supported the use of the merit point system. And actually, they advocated that for works contract, there should be an evaluation based on an assessment of quality and cost. And in this guide, actually, they even recommended to use 80% weighting for the technical criteria and 20% for the use of financial criteria, the price. And in 2017, actually, FIDIC issued, I would say, a note about the evaluation of bids, and they reaffirmed that the low bid or the lowest bid is not providing the best value for money. They acknowledge the recognition of the use of this new approach. Well, as for ADB, actually, back in 2017, when we adopted a new procurement policy and regulation, it was acknowledged in our procurement regulation that non-price criteria should be assessed in order to provide the best or the most value for money. So this was affirmed. This is a statement from our procurement regulation. Achieving value for money through the effective, efficient, and economic use of resources requires the evaluation of the relevant costs and benefits, naturally based on objective thought, along with an assessment of risk and non-price attributes. That's very interesting, non-price attributes. So it did open the door for the merit point system and all life cycle costs as appropriate. And this was further developed in a number of guidance notes. We issued a guidance note in December 2021, which was quite detailed on this issue, as you can see on my left-hand side of my screen. And there was a further guidance note released 1 year later in December 22 on the use of merit point criteria for the water sector. And there is another guidance note which is still actually not yet released, but still in draft, about the use of merit point system in the contracts in the transport sector. So the last, I would say, step, perhaps, or the most recent step in this direction was the release, as I said, in last December, in two new standard bidding documents, so user guide containing the standard bidding document. And actually, these two new user guides, so what you can see on my screen, has, I would say, two new features. The first, they were based on the FIDIC Red Book 2017 as reprinted in 2022. So the same for the Red Book and for the Yellow Book. So we have two standard building documents and user guides. And they were also based, and this is new because formerly our user guides were based on the lowest evaluated and substantially responsive bid, LESRB, the LESB, lowest evaluated substantially responsive bid. So we shifted from this approach to the approach of making an evaluation or recommending evaluation on merit point criteria. And it was said that actually the use of any other methods, and particularly the use of the former, I would say, less, but the former lowest evaluated substantially responsive bid is still not, I would say, prevented or disrecommended, but however should be justified through the strategic procurement planning analysis. But the default system should be the merit point system. So we actually, to distinguish our approach from the World Banks, we did not really make it compulsory, but we made it the default evaluation methods in our standard building document. As you may know, our World Bank colleagues have taken perhaps a stronger approach because they issued some recommendation that as from September 2023, so that's now 1.5 years ago, all bidding documents should give rise to an evaluation based on the rated criteria, and they issued a list of limitative list of procurement which may not be based on this approach, and they mentioned vaccines, pharmaceuticals, off-the-shelf goods or educational products, and a few others. So we did not, ADB did not go as far as making it mandatory, but however, in this new bidding document, this is the default evaluation methods. And in case another approach should be taken, I would say this could be justified. It should be justified, and so such considerations such as the complexity, or perhaps the low complexity, low level of complexity of the project, or perhaps the local procurement law, which may or may not allow this approach, or perhaps the capacity of the borrower, because this requires some higher, I would say, some greater capacity to do this kind of evaluation, and also the bidding conditions, the market capacity. But apart from these specific conditions, which may be examined, so now the default evaluation system is the MPC, or rated criteria approach. Right, so we also advise on the choice of the criteria to be used, because naturally the merit point criteria is all based on the relevance of the choice of the right criteria. So we recommend that first, during the strategic planning, procurement planning analysis, there should be a clear, I would say, vision, a clear statement of what should be the major project outcomes. What are the major project outcomes? Is it only getting the most economical bid? Is it only is it to favor the greatest, I would say, social and social benefits? Is it to foster perhaps or to enhance the environmental, I would say, aspect? So from these major project outcomes, there should be a reflection about what should be the drivers who should allow or enable to achieve these outcomes, and the choice of the criteria should be chosen on which criteria will drive these outcomes. And we, in fact, suggest a number of a set of criteria which may be considered. in case of a design and build contract or design, build, operate, there should be naturally the project design, which should be taken into consideration for this criteria. There could be consideration could be given on the choice of the equipment, the material, the systems which the bidder proposed to implement. Naturally, there should be also very important the construction approach, construction methodology. So this is based, this relates to method statements. There could be a statement, there could be some objectives, some criteria based on the social aspect. What, for instance, what should be, how the bidder should interact with the local community, how will he minimize the impact on the local community. There could be criteria based on the green and sustainable development. And this will, in fact, revolves around how the bidder propose to minimize the impact on the environment. There could be some endangered species to protect. There could be some aspect on rivers, on the fauna, on the flora. And for contracts which involve operation maintenance, naturally, criteria could be designed on the approach to operation and maintenance. Right. So all these aspects can be in fact derived, and typically would say this criteria could be, for instance, for the design, they probably, if design is involved in the contract, some concept design should be requested from the bidders. If criteria are chosen on the kind of material, the type of material and systems that should be implemented, the bidder should elaborate on the sourcing, the kind of materials, the warranties. For construction, they can elaborate on the logistic aspect, the methodology, method statement, the approach to health and safety. So you have here a set of possible criteria which should be chosen from. And from this criteria, there should be, I would say, a number of weightings that should be determined. So in our bidding document, we suggest, I would say, for illustration purpose, a certain methodology based on certain criteria, which I will elaborate upon. First, in the section 3 of bidding document, we specify that a certain sequence should be chosen when using the merit point system. And we have here kind of flow charts. So it's in 2 parts. So the first part is an assessment. Well, there will be a record of bid opening, naturally. There will be a first examination based on the content of the bids. And some bids may be rejected if they don't comply with the requirement for the existence of a bid security, for instance, if they don't comply with the bid validity, if the letter of bid is not signed, if there is no proper letter of authorization from the bidders from the management to express the bid. So there must be a preliminary examination. So this can lead to first rejection of some bids which do not meet this requirement. The second step, or the third perhaps, is the assessment of qualification. So as you know, qualification, I will not perhaps comment very much on it, but as you know, one should not conflate qualification, the assessment of qualification and evaluation. Qualification is, as you know, based on pass and fail basis, and it rather, if I may use this word, even though it's not stated in the bidding document themselves, it's rather geared towards the past, meaning it's an assessment of the experience, the financial capacity and the financial accounts, the historical contract performance, the bidder experience, in terms of completing similar contracts. So this is pass and fail. And as you know, there is no, would say, subjective, there is a very limited subjective room for this assessment. When monetary criteria are set for qualification, in theory, even $1 less than the criteria should lead to the rejection, to the disqualification. It's pass, fail. So this is a step number 3. And again, this can lead to disqualify and reject some bids. Only those bids which pass this step are taken for the next stage of the evaluation. So the next set of evaluation is a technical evaluation. And actually, this is made in 2 parts. The first part of it is the determination of the substantial responsiveness. So this is not really pass and fail. It was an assessment of the extent to which the bidder is responsive. It can be non-responsive and can be rejected as such, but there is an assessment of whether or not there are deviation, and if there are deviation towards the requirement, there should be an assessment whether or not this deviation or omission are minor or major. Major deviation should lead to rejection as being non-responsive. And now, if there are minor deviation, they can be further clarified. There could be a kind of a monetary adjustment of the bid if possible. So any bid which will not be considered as substantially responsive shall be rejected. And then we go to the technical scoring. So after this stage, we go to the financial evaluation, and then number 6, we go to the combination of the technical and financial score, and actually then it leads to the determination of the first ranked bid. So we no longer have the lowest evaluated being awarded the contract, but we have the first ranked bid further to the combination of technical and financial evaluation. This is nothing particularly new. It's a very classical, but this is spelled out, I would say, in this big document, and we have these flow charts which perhaps clarified, but we hope it will clarify the approach and the sequence of evaluation for our borrowers, for the ADB borrowers. Right, so as I said, and I will briefly go the next slides, we propose in our user guide a method which is given for illustration purpose only, and naturally we insist that it should be adapted on a case-by-case basis, but just to give an illustration of our approach, we propose so technical evaluation based and rated criteria based on, in that particular example, the approach of methodology of the bidder, and we propose to give 70%, but again, as for illustration purpose only, and an assessment of the key personal qualification for 30%. And both criteria will constitute the 100% technical scoring. So if we make a focus on the approach of methodology, so we have given, again, for illustration purpose, again, only a number of criteria and sub-criteria. As you see, we have listed here the design methodology. So obviously this must be a contract, should be a contract for design and build or design and build or operate. For 20%, the construction management strategy for 20%, construction methods, the design and construction schedule, whether it's detailed, realistic, and in line with the employee's requirement, an assessment of the quality assurance and quality control system proposed by the bidder, the approach to the environment, the approach to the management of risk, so the anticipated risk evaluation, and whether or not the organizational chart is clear and relevant. So we suggested that this could be an example of the assessment of the approach of methodology of the bidders. And so this gives rise to a first technical score, T1, and we provided here also a guide of narrative evaluation criteria, so how to how the evaluators should attribute scores. So this score should be based on this. We propose again as an illustration purpose this kind of scale of scoring from unacceptable, some reservation, acceptable, good, and excellent. Naturally, let's not hide the fact that there is a subjective element. ADB considers that, however, professional evaluators and being given, I would say, a clear and specified evaluation in the main document should limit the risk of, I would say, making a too subjective an evaluation. Now, the methodology goes on to specify some criteria for the key person qualification. So for here, again, for illustration purpose, we give how this evaluation could be conducted. So there is a number of key personnel who should be identified, and for each of them, there should be an assessment of the qualification, the work experience and similar work. So this is how the key personnel could be evaluated. So again, each of these personnel should be evaluated based on this approach. Then, so we have the T1 and T2 factors, T1 being the approach methodology and T2 being the evaluation of the key personnel. So we have a total technical evaluation, and we convert actually, so each bidder is given a specific technical score, and naturally, the methodology is based on a weighting which will be given to the technical score and the financial score. So naturally, each bidder will be benchmarked, so to speak, to vis-a-vis the highest technical, the highest ranked technical score, and times, I would say, the weight. For instance, it could be given a weight of 60% or 40% or 50%, and each bidder, so as benchmark vis-a-vis the highest ranked technical scored bid, will be given its own technical score. And we have a similar approach naturally for the financial approach. So each bid price, when the price of each bidder has been analyzed and possibly when they have been adjusted, for instance, for if there are arithmetical errors or this kind of approach, but each bidder will be given a financial score. So there will be benchmark vis-a-vis the lowest price, and naturally there will be factored by the weight which will be given to the technical and financial scores respectively. So we did not, in the big document, we did not assign a specific weighting of the technical and financial. This should be determined through the strategic procurement planning. And we say, in contrast, for instance, the FEDIC procurement guide propose and recommend to adopt an 80% technical weighting and a 20% financial weighting. So we did not go on that path, so to speak. We believe that this should be considered and probably determined on a case-by-case basis, and this should be the all right. So when these two naturally, then once this weighting or based on the weighting which is set in the big document for the technical score and the financial score, but we combine this score for each bidder, and actually we have a combined score, CS, against which all bidders should be ranked, and there will be a first rank, which naturally will not necessarily be the lowest bidder. And last, before I just finish my presentation, I would just also want to mention that when making such a bidding based on rated criteria, it's very important to define not only the methodology, which should be clearly explained in the bidding document, but also the bidding document should include a number of schedules in which they should specify and spell out all the criteria against which they will be rated. So, for instance, if the criteria are the one listed on my screen here, design methodology, construction methodology, but each of these criteria should give rise in the bidding document in a specific schedule, which all bidders should they should fill out and would say include in the technical bid. And here we suggest what aspect the bidder should spell out, for instance, in the schedule number 1, design methodology. And in the bidding document, what we have designed and we have prepared, I would say, a kind of standard description of all the schedule that the bidder are expected to submit in the bid. All right, so this concludes my presentation.
So what my presentation will highlight maybe will be what is unique to AFDB and try to avoid things that are already been mentioned. So we'll basically look at what in AFDB we call the most economic advantageous tender, which is our approach to using rated criteria. You will note that with the Asian Development Bank, they have the merit point criteria, and there could be an additional consideration on top of the most economical advantageous tender. So we'll describe how it is in the AFDB procurement framework. When we use it, whether in the one envelope or a single envelope, two envelope approaches, the benefits and challenges, the key considerations that we have when we're using this approach. Then we'll highlight the evaluation process and the scoring formula, and conclude with the weighting guidelines. So rated criteria, as has been highlighted, is about looking at 9 price factors that influence bid evaluation. So it helps any contracting authority to be able to evaluate bids for aspects that require a qualitative approach. Things like technical issues and sustainability aspects, for instance, are normally key candidates when you're trying to use qualitative criteria in the evaluation of bids. And this is because these are aspects that we normally ask people to provide proposals for, unlike in the pass-fail criteria, where our contracting authority normally lists the characteristics that they desire, and then bidders have to respond to those characteristics the way they have been described. Under rated criteria, bidders are normally requested to provide proposals. They are normally given the option by the contracting authority to propose or to describe what solutions that they have for what the requirements that have been presented to them. And so rated criteria would normally be best suitable for reviewing bids that have been presented in proposal format. So most economically advantageous for tender is one of the approaches that use rated criteria. And this is the one that has been advocated for by AFDB in its guidance notes. So unlike the lowest cost, lowest price approach, at least we try to ensure that the decisions in procurement align to broader social, economic, or environmental objectives, which are becoming critical nowadays in procurement. Recently, we just started discussions on how to deepen the sustainability talking about the circular economy and how to align procurement in areas of circular economy. So the rated criteria will come in useful when trying to evaluate bids using this approach. So AFDB's policy recommends use of rated criteria, basically as a means of promoting sustainability. So, and if you look at our guidance note on rated criteria, it's actually coming is as part of our guidance note on sustainability. We are yet to separate it because that our policy put it under the bracket of sustainability. The MIT under AFDB is used at the borrower's discretion. So unlike the other MDBs that have mandated it to a greater extent, for AFDB, it's still discretionary on the borrower. And the reason we have for this is that there are still many procurements within our scope that are best evaluated on a pass-fail basis. And it would be difficult to mandate rated criteria where clearly it is not possible where it is easily possible to get a reasonably good priced tender using the lowest evaluated bid approach. We are in the process of developing standard bidding documents for use of MIT. So far, we have published the one for goods, the 2-envelope system. If you go to our website, you'll be able to see that. We still have work in progress for the bidding document for information systems, for works, as well as for design, supply, and install. Very soon, we might, within the next, say, quarter, we might have the one for information systems approved for publication. It's currently being reviewed for translation and just ensuring that the technical quality in the languages that it will be published on remain consistent across the board. So this one is at a very advanced stage. The other two are still somewhere in between, and I'll highlight the reasons why as we go along. One issue that comes up when we are using rated criteria is, should it be used in a 1-envelope procedure or a 2-envelope procedure? Traditionally, we have tended to recommend its use in a 2-envelope procedure because we would prefer that the evaluation of qualitative aspects are separated from the monetary aspects. So in a 2-envelope procedure, bidders do not have access to the financial info. The evaluators do not have access to financial information when evaluating the technical aspects. And this enhances more the objectivity with which they'll be able to look at the technical proposal. Unlike the 1-envelope system, which we normally recommend when it is very clear that we can have pass-fail criteria and other aspects can be quantified in monetary terms whenever there are discrepancies. Sometimes, of course, we do encounter suggestions to use the 1-envelope procedure with rated criteria. That is, people evaluating the technical aspects using rated criteria and then defaulting to the lowest evaluated bid once that passes the technical score. But as I've indicated again, this tends to lead to bias when assessing the technical aspects because people have already, in a 1-envelope system, people have already looked at the prices and there could be an element of bias when looking at the technical aspects in this regard. The benefits of the MIT approach: one, it encourages innovation. Bidders, since we are asking bidders to contribute their proposals to the employers or purchasers' requirements, then they are encouraged to prepare higher quality and more sustainable solutions for the borrower. So it's a more open system than the pass-fail criteria, where the borrower is at pains to describe in detail what they really want. Here, they simply give performance characteristics And then it's up to the bidder to propose solutions that would meet those requirements. It can lead to long-term cost efficiency, since normally we tend to use it with other factors such as life cycle costing or the total cost of ownership. So it helps us to prevent short-term cost focus. It also helps us to drive sustainability, because one of the criteria that can be introduced in the technical aspects is issues of sustainability, whether it's environmental, social, or economic dimensions of sustainability. This can be introduced in the technical criteria, and bidders can be asked to provide proposals as to how they intend to provide solutions for that. It also helps to ensure fair competition, although this can be a bit controversial. Normally, when one has a very transparent multi-criteria evaluation process that bidders clearly understand, and evaluators also apply consistently across the board, then it can also lead to very fair and reasonable competition. Challenges that one would experience with the MIT process, and which we have seen, is that it requires people who are trained in evaluating qualitative aspects. Many people still have challenges evaluating qualitative criteria. And given that the world is now moving from pass-fail, trying to wean off people from that system is a bit challenging. One thing we have seen is people trying to list as many sub-criteria as possible, and then having a single mark or two for each sub-criteria. And that leads to something that looks more like a pass-fail than a rated criteria thing. So it's a very challenging, complex process, and it requires for us to continuously engage with people that are involved in industries, so that we can try and provide the best approaches for evaluating rated criteria. Ensuring objectivity can also be a challenge. Having clear weightings and transparent scoring mechanisms are quite important. But again, given the fact that we are providing ratings, and the ratings basically kind of are based on somebody's opinion on what they are observing from somebody's bid, it can lead to some element of subjectivity. And so how to guide evaluators to make sure that the manner in which they apply the rated criteria is consistent and transparent can be quite a challenge. Then the market readiness, how are our suppliers, contractors ready for this? We know from the consultancy field, for the longest time possible, for consultants, we've been evaluating them based on rated criteria. So they're used to this kind of system. But for suppliers, for goods and works, where we have to move now people to this kind of consideration, they've been used to pass-fail criteria for so long. We need to also, just like with the case of the evaluators that I talked about, we also need to have engagement with them, so that they are clear that this is a mechanism that is better suited for the type of procurements that is being proposed for.
Mohammed was responsible. Philip and Mohammed.
The evaluation process for MIT is generally has to be agreed with the bank. So it is the borrower that has to propose it for a particular procurement, and they have to propose which criteria they intend to have used in the bidding document. The merit point scoring system and the evaluation procedure all have to be described in the bidding documents in order to ensure transparency and no bias. The key issue here is that once bids are opened, we expect that since it's a two-envelope system, the financial bids are deposited with an independent entity with no direct access to the evaluators, and that these are only released once the technical evaluation process is complete. Just like our colleague Didier described, we use the same scoring formula for the meat process, where we get the inverse of the financial scores and the technical scores and combine them into a formula that we use to get the most economic advantageous tender. The technical scores are derived by a summation of the technical score and the respective weight. So once that is obtained is when then we transfer that into the meat scoring formula. Weighting guidelines, as I indicated earlier, so far we have the bidding document for goods ready. And for us, the consideration is still that for goods, the main issue should still be price. So the factors that we have recommended is that we shouldn't go below 70%. 80 to 90% is the most typical range that we've seen for people procuring complex goods. We advocate to have very well-defined criteria and sub-criteria. Certainly not too many criteria and sub-criteria. So main criteria shouldn't be like more than 5 critical areas, similar to sub-criteria, to avoid having this tiny little scoring systems that tend to look like small pass-fail criteria. Then reducing sub-criteria by assigning points for quality and other aspects to avoid potential abuse. If you have looked at the FIDIC procurement guideline, if you look at the FIDIC procurement guideline, it talks about rated criteria based on certain adjectives. When looking at our technical aspects, you indicate things like, sorry, colleagues, just a minute, I need to. Sorry for that. Okay, so I was mentioning that if you look at the FIDIC guideline, they have a mechanism where they have certain adjectives that describe the proportion of approaches to how to address the issue of weighting. So, for instance, you'd have a proposal where the technical aspect is rated as excellent, and that is assigned a weight like 80%. Good, a rate of 70%, fair or poor, a weight of 50 to below 50%. So using that kind of mechanism gives evaluators guideline as to how they should be able to provide description of what they are observing in the evaluated bids, and so to try and give a sort to reduce the level of subjectivity in the application of the weighted criteria. For AFDB, we still do not have a mechanism like that, but we are currently, this year, we are reviewing our policy, and we believe that some of the observations that we should be able to get will enable us to refine more on these qualitative aspects in the future development of guidelines. So in conclusion, then, what we are saying is that the rated criteria, and especially the most economic advantageous tender, tries to ensure that procurement balances issues of cost as well as quality when carrying out evaluation. We are, at the end of the day, trying to maximize value for money by considering other non-price aspects in the bid evaluation. And when coming up with weights that are fair or competitive, we must take into account the nature of procurement that we are doing, whether it's goods or works or services. We need to assign weights that are appropriate to the nature of procurement that we are doing.
So my topic is basically 3 topics tonight. Firstly, background, and then I want to talk about the public works in Japan, how in Japan the rated criteria or comprehensive bidding evaluation is adopted in Japan. And lastly, what's the matter now and the future? It means, you know, what I'm now feeling about rating criteria. And also I'm going to touch what JICA is applying for the rating criteria or not. So the first topic is the background. But background is, you know, the first background is my background, and secondly, background of rated criteria. The first background is my personal experience. I want to talk about, you know, the basically first example is water project in Africa. I don't know, probably some of you know of this project, which is the Lesotho Highland Water Project. I participated in this project for the bid. It was late 1980s. This project is you know, quite big. It consists of construction of nearly 100-meter high of height of dam construction, and I can't remember exactly, but I think more than 50-kilometer length of transmission tunnel toward South Africa. And for this project, I think quite a lot of contractors participated. And at that time, Lesotho government was rather still very, you know, incapable to manage this, you know, type of big project, and therefore very large consultant groups are organized, and they work very, very well. And, you know, more characteristic in this project is at the time, the Lesotho government is not capable to bring a sufficient fund for the project, and therefore, in the bidding, the all bidders has to bring the fund for construction, but it's not surprise credit, but buyer's credit. So the most bidders bringing from Exim Bank. So the bid evaluation is rather very difficult. They done based on a scoring evaluation with technical and price, but also they have to you know, analyze the fund, you know, how to repayment, you know, repayment. It's the all fund introduced by the bidders are all different, interest rate different, repayment period is different, and a grace period is different. So it's very complicated. Based on that, they made a very good evaluation. And at that time, I think evaluation committee is something like 8 evaluators. But the highest score and the lowest score they eliminated, and the other score they averaged, and they made that, and this evaluation in this project is I think they published in the magazine, I think, professional magazine. But actually, I lost that paper, unfortunately. That is, first my experience, and second experience is in Taiwan. It's about the year 2000. So the 25 years ago, I think, almost. At that time, Taiwan government they introduced prioritized bid or something like that. So this is a balanced bid with technical and economical bid. And this was the first time in Taiwan to introduce this type of bid. And therefore, the quite a lot of foreign contractors participated in the Taiwan market. But when I was in Taiwan, but actually I was not permanently stayed in Taiwan. I visited from time to time, but when I was there, one bidder he talked with a kind of fixer in order to the good point is be given by the evaluator. But this is very big news in Taiwan, and it's giving a huge influence to Taiwan's society. So that was my second experience. And what I'm trying to say is that the rated criteria is not the new evaluation method. It's very conventional. I've experienced from late 1980s, maybe the more than 40 years. This rated criteria or scoring evaluation has its history. That my first background, and second one, and if it is a very conventional discussion, so why now rated criteria comes up? Then everybody quite clear now. Sustainable procurement is a very important issue. It's mainly environmental issue, social issue, and community issues. That's why just a conventional way of bidding evaluation would not be fit for the purpose. And also now there are quite a lot of new technologies. And conventionally, new technology means rather the hard technology. But now we have to include soft technology as well. For example, BIM or SIM, these two tools. These tools are quite important for carrying out infrastructure construction contract. So I think I want to move on the next topic. In many countries, actually, the bidding are based on not on the price competitive basis, but rather comprehensive evaluation, including scoring evaluation. In Japan as well, one static says 95% of the bidding in Japan is somehow based on the comprehensive evaluation. But it's also include the bidders pre-qualification or qualifications, and also it's based on technical proposal based bidding. It means multiple stepped bidding or overall scoring evaluation. It's quite a different type of bidding procedures are adopted in Japan. Oops, no change. Right. So I think let's take an example of the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. This evaluation is used for, I think, the water sewage, I think, project. They use scoring evaluation based selection, and price and technical weighting is 50-50. And they use evaluation with price. They use this formula. It's rather the complicated formula, but slightly different from World Bank's formula. But anyway, they calculate the score in the price bid. And then next one is a technical part. It's very, nothing special. Methodology, 80 point. Experience in similar work, 2 point. Performance in past project, 13 point. Official award record, 2. Technical proposal record, 2. And engineering qualification for the project. Engineer's experience, accident record. This is a minus evaluation point, and experience in a project area, an ISO certificate or emergency cooperation record. Emergency cooperation record is typical in Japan because in Japan we have so many earthquake, for example, or torrential rainfall. That's why whether or not contractor cooperate for the emergency cooperation is one of the scores. And also experience in the project area. The contractor, if they know about the local community, it's plus point, for example. But nothing is so much special. Anyway, in Japan also this evaluation technique is used, but how about the contractor's voice on comprehensive bidding procedures? It's also already published by the Ministry of Land in Japan. First 3 is rather positive evaluation of bidders' technical proposal and methodology eventually lead to high quality construction. That is good. And contractors would contribute to the local community. It's lead a good reputation and more projects in the future. Okay, and new technology, new methodology can be adopted and easily to proposed in the bid. So these three are fairly good. But others are, bidding procedure takes a bit longer period and high bidder's cost. And next point is a comprehensive evaluation is often unnecessarily selected for the simple project. So it says even though a very simple project, because of their regulation, internal regulation, they have to apply comprehensive evaluation methodology. And next one is if a project is quite large, then it may be difficult to set how evaluation items are selected and how, what point they are going to evaluate. And next one is in evaluation of methodology, for example, what's the evaluation point and how evaluation is made objectively. So it's a question of objectivity. And next one is rather quite interesting. If evaluation items and the points are very clearly mentioned in the bidding document, then bidders are rather interested in only these points, but other points they are not interested in. The last one, for long-term performance and O&M cost to be evaluated will be difficult to evaluate objectively. In life cycle cost, we sometimes talked about if life cycle cost is very how to guarantee life cycle cost. Nobody would guarantee. It's based on certainty. That the main argument for the comprehensive evaluation method in Japan. And let's talk about JICA. And JICA is rather a bit conservative at the moment, and JICA's standard bid evaluation is based on pass-fail method. So of course, the evaluation should be stepward. The first step is whether or not substantially responsible or not. And second evaluation would be whether or not this bidders are qualified, this qualification issues. And the third step would be whether or not it's satisfy minimum requirement, technical requirement or financial requirement or previously experience. That's the third point. And the fourth is at the moment the most of the project is based on the pass-fail provision of the technical part. And after that, the bidders are selected lowest evaluated bid price. That is mostly done, except in special cases. If there is special cases, we normally require what is the special cases, why you need scoring evaluation. That the what we are doing at the moment. And we apply as much as possible existing tools, such as stepped bidding, two-stage bidding, or alternative technical solutions, or life cycle cost. If the other scoring evaluation is used, just we need clarification. Our concern is whether or not a detailed and well-balanced evaluation criteria is written in the bidding document. It's very difficult issue, I think. And secondly, evaluation committee members. In a JICA project, always evaluation committee members are appointed by execution agencies. And whether or not the committee members are really independent and transparent, we don't know. And even training of evaluation committees are made sufficiently is questionable. So at the moment, you see, we are not quite sure the evaluation committee's competency, neutrality, and independency, unless this qualification is satisfied. Always, you see, we would say there are space of subjectivity. Now I think almost my, the conclusion. Application of related criteria is required from environmental and social consideration. Of course, everybody knows that. But we must, require some improvement. Firstly, guidance for draft of evaluation criteria. At the moment, the World Bank, for example, they published procurement guideline evaluating bid and proposal. I think all of you know of that. I think a recent their publication is February 2025, which is 4th edition. It's very well written document, but still, how evaluation criteria is written, or what point the evaluation is made. For example, methodology. Methodology is rather a very wide area. In what point in the methodology evaluation committee is watching and make the score, giving score? Is it a management point, or just a technical area, or how they I would say temporary facilities, for example, or how to apply equipment. There are quite a lot of areas in the methodology. So the evaluation criteria should be break down into more small element. Unless otherwise, the always objectivity cannot be achieved, I think. Secondly, the if it is possible, evaluation committee members, qualifications, and official listing would be much more preferable. Not each time to appoint the evaluation committee, but each country or each execution agency, they should have already listed committee members. And the next point is World Bank also suggested allocation of probity expert in order to, the objectively and transparently this, related criteria is performed. I think it's impeccable to allocate a probity expert. At the moment, not so many people can do this, probity expert. I think in the future, I think we need it. So this is, I think, a last slide. The first point, I think, I have already talked quite many times. And the second one is we are today talking about related criteria, but related criteria is one of the aspects. At the moment, we know that FEDEC is going to publish, I think this year or next year, collaborative contracting or alliance contracting. It's entirely different base of contract. But I think the we have to think about, it depends on the nature of the project, but we have to not only think about the related criteria, but also the different type of the contract or different type of bidding procedure, and depend on the project. Simple project, probably it's better to still price competition, but we have to think about the negotiated contract and also multiple bidding or alliance or collaborative contracting in the future as well. All right, that is my presentation. Thank you very much.